And also, just thought I'd just drop this in there. TSM is dead. So the witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witch is dead. The witch is dead. Ding dong, the witch is dead. The witch is dead. Oh, yay. Because if people don't remember, I'll just throw this out there. I love, by the way, Monty, when my enemies don't just fail, they like actually say the most embarrassing thing in the context if they fail. Like people might know, don't worry, it's coming soon. The reason why I love that I've got it over Frankie, that she was sort of trying to virtue signal, but then it's absolutely backfired in her face. It's because other people, Monty, said specific things like, I wouldn't work with Neom if they were with Blast. So if Blast doesn't work with Neom, it doesn't really matter, you know, if like the Saudis come to someone else. She specifically just said, I would never work with people. Like we should learn not to work with people who would kill our friends and then worked with those people. So like that. I love that. And so if people don't remember, Reginald did absolutely make a tweet where it said that before he let TSM get like CLG, by the way, not only, obviously people will know, a couple of years later, did TSM get as bad as CLG. In fact, CLG was better last year. But CLG even just sold and Ethereus left LCS. So what does Reggie do now? He promised he would sell his car, his house. He didn't. He just sold TSM, the LCS team, or is going to. And then he's not only leaving. This is where fans have lost their mind on Reddit. I've always told you Reddit is skewed by Fnatic fans in Europe and TSM fans in NA. And even when they criticize TSM, it'll never be as harsh as like Perk's accountability thread or like, you know, G2 Carlos is a scumbag. So the way you know is this, because the thread announcing, Reginald just saying to the fans basically like, by the way, I'm not only leaving. It's not even that I'm leaving League. It's not like I'm leaving because I don't have any money. I'm just going to go to China. By the way, already an insane 90s neocon boomer meme there. He sent American jobs to China. Guys, like, where's Bill O'Reilly? Get him out here. Can I get him and bring Patching him in now? What's going on? So already that should already, you'd think, have all the, you'd think people would be going mad on him. Dude, the level of cope from TSM fans, they were actually, all the top comments was like, well, you know, the team was sort of going downhill over the years and there's a lot of opportunities in China. You know, actually, it's a good market to it. Like, what are you talking about? What? So, no, don't worry, guys. We'll get to MSI, but we have to talk about this because we had a crusade against them and we won in every sense.
What I love about this, Thorin, is like, why would you even be a TSM fan continuing at this point? Because literally, guys, it's not the players. It's not Bjergsen anymore. It's not even them being in North America. It's literally just Reginald. And like Reginald is such an odious human being that you are, if you are still a TSM fan, just admitting that you are a Reginald fan. That's horrible. Like, why? Why would you do that? Also, the rumors are that they're going to the LPL, but we don't know how, in what capacity. They haven't, to my knowledge, sold their LCS slots yet. They're simply marketing it. Yep. They're shopping for buyers at the moment. And by the way, guys, the current value of an LCS slot is about $20 million. So that's kind of the agreed upon market price, which is obviously significantly lower than LEC slots were selling for at the end of last year. So that's why, you know, people have been kind of reluctant to speak publicly about it. You might
remember there was a rumor like a year or two ago that Reggie wanted to buy no LEC, wasn't there? Wasn't that the rumor that they were going to go the other direction as well on that?
It wasn't a rumor. He was talking to Misfits. It's not a rumor. That's what was happening. Was that he was trying to at least suss out whether it would be good to go to LEC. And like what I love about the video that they made of Reginald slowly reading and awkwardly reading.
Oh, by the way, if people don't know what you're saying there, here's the little tip for you. Every time you see a camera cut, that can be a different take. I've worked with Reginald on interviews. He is so dumb, he can't even say like 3 sentences in a row. I'm not joking. Like there was a cut every few sentences, Monty, every few words, even that cut to another camera. And the way he was speaking slowly, I'm with you, mate. He had big cards behind, like held. I could tell. You could just tell.
Somebody with like a pointer, like a laser pointer,
like
just
Puff.
like under.
Well, he's not there anymore, but yeah,
underlining every word. But what was so funny was like this idea that he keeps going back to it, that it's always been his goal to win Worlds, when he just like obviously was never going to happen to North America, and that was just bullshit to rile up his fans. But I think what's so crazy about this, Thorin, is that there's a couple very funny angles to this. Okay. One of them was actually, I won't say who pointed this out to me, but it was a funny point that a friend of mine brought up, which is that Reginald has actually become what Mark Merrill accused him of, which is that going into the summer split, they're going to be paying the LCS minimum salary, which I think is about $75,000 right now. And remember that teams get $2 to $3 billion in revenue share from Riot a year. So if you're paying $75,000 to 5 players, that's $375K plus some housing expenses plus some coaches. He is actually now doing the thing Mark Merrill accused him of, which is taking money from Riot and then using it in other games.
By the way, if people want to know how egregious it is that Reggie of all people in TSM would pay that sort of money, if people don't know, a year or two ago there were players making more than that in Academy.
Yeah.
There was people making like 100K in Academy sometimes. Yeah,
oh, absolutely. So that's like the funny part number one. The funny part number two is that, to his point about wanting to sell everything to not end up like CLG. Now, we don't know what form, the new TSM is going to take. In fact, we don't even know if it will take form. Like, this could just be a sell and exit, and they may never find a deal. That's not cut and dried that they are going to find a new deal within a different league. But if they go to LPL, it could be a partnership arrangement for the branding, like we saw with Victory 5 and NIP this year.
Yeah.
So it's not maybe that they're buying a slot. It could be that they are giving money and the TSM name in order to have an equity split with a company that already owns a slot. Because we really haven't seen that many LPL slots like changing hands.
No.
They change names, but
I mean, they're owned by billionaires often, if people don't know, so they don't really need to sell. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this could just be a brand partnership like we saw with NIP and V5, where they start sharing some of the costs, or Comcast and T1, for example. So between SKT and Comcast, they kind of collectively operate the T1 brand at this point in time. So I would anticipate it's going to be something more like that rather than an outright purchase of a slot. But what's so crazy is that he really just wants to spend more money. Like, he wants to burn money because his only goal, it doesn't matter how successful he is, there is some deep-seated need that instead of just going and running his very successful businesses, like his website network, the Blitz app, etc., he has to spend money to attempt to win a world championship. To what end? I have no idea. Like, if I was him, I would just sell my LCS slot and wash my hands of the entire thing and just fuck off and do other things with my life. Run my successful businesses that are profitable. I think what's so amazing is that, unlike a lot of the other teams and team owners, he actually has the majority of his business not be esports focused. And in this time where the esports bubble is popping, why would you want to stick around unless you absolutely had to and it was your core business? It's not his core business. But he's doubling down weirdly in this time because he apparently just needs to win worlds, which even in a top tier region like Korea or China could be very difficult.
I mean, there's also, by the way, a sort of tangential story that came out yesterday that is actually hilarious, technically this morning or whatever. It was actually so funny, Monte. You won't have seen this. So Clement on Facebook in Chinese told a story about where apparently, the whole Peter Zhang thing where he was the one who was the middleman between like the talents. I've always told people this, including people like Bo, that's in Vitality, and he chose not to go with them. And it's inferred that essentially he recommended you to TSM if you were the one who sort of gave him more cut of like the money that he was going to come to your way. And it was a corrupt thing, hence why they got bomb players. There's a story that just came out that is so funny. So Clement Chu, big friend of the show, we had him on many years ago. Obviously he's done the LPL, comes from the LMS region, legendary figure within the scene, got a lot of us into like the Chinese scene. He told a story on Facebook in Chinese that said, this is mental, that Speaker says that Peter Zhang tricked them by showing clips of Knight and just basically, like, I assume like the no nameplate on, and said that was the Kia duo guy.
Yeah, duo.
And that's why TSM signed him, because they baited him. So they were just watching, like, think about the most, if you don't know, if you've seen MSI, he's pretty fucking good, isn't he, Knight? Just godlike shit. And then that's who they thought they were incredible. Signing. That's even better, dude, because that's like that's like some Warner Brothers cartoon shit with like an Acme thing, and you put a logo over like, no, this is the non-Roadrunner killing machine. Like, Reginald's actually a cartoon character, man. What? That is mental. I love shit like that, though. I fucking love it. I love that shit. It's so stupid, isn't it?
The level of that scam is just hilarious. Yes. I mean, it's just...
Because it's like a fucking Christopher Nolan movie or something. Like the detail, the scam goes so many layers deep, exactly.
I like how it just more and more keeps getting revealed. Yes. By it. I look forward to Sword in a couple of years when Sword Art actually reveals what happened with the whole car saga. Wow. That's too good. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know where TSM is going with all of this stuff. I just don't understand their key motivations here beyond just a prideful need to do well in League of Legends, which doesn't have any kind of basis in economic reality at this point in time for an organization like TSM. Especially when you move markets, because you're not going to be able to take any of your sponsors with you. I mean, do you even have a business arm in China that's going to be able to monetize? All of their operations have been based around selling North American sponsors, founding their sales agency, selling across their websites to an English speaking audience. Like, it's just deeply weird.
Here's what only we can say. No one else in League of Legends is allowed to address it. So, all the important things like who's being malnourished, who's getting fucked, who's being screwed by Riot. So here's what I can say that other people can't. You've heard the stories, Monte, you know them. The stories with the Koreans as to why so many of the legendary Koreans that have been in the LCK but then went to the LPL don't come back, or they come back like 6 years later, is because the story goes that you can't just go there. It's like, you can't just go there, get the money and then just leave. They sort of like have ways and means of keeping the money in the country. That could be enormous tax if you tried to leave with it. That could be things like essentially just telling you straight up, like, you're not allowed to do that. So basically, that's why they tend to stay, put down roots, or like find different ways to spend the money. All I'll say is this. I don't even think Reginald's thought of that angle. Like, mate, let's imagine it went amazingly. You had the top team, you're winning worlds, got all the Chinese sponsors. How does that money ever get to you? Are you just going to have to go and live in China, mate? Like, they've thought these things through. I think he's thinking it's like America. You just roll up and do what you want. Like, you don't. There's a different world over there. There's different rules as well. And also, I've found this, like, when you come into someone else's territory and you're the outsider, you just get all the bad deals. There's a different price for you and a price for them. They know what they're doing. Like, one thing I'll give credit to China for, it's how they've been so economically successful, is they've intentionally incentivized money and business to stay inside the country. They don't want the whole like global approach to it unless it's them. They don't mind them expanding, but they don't want you coming in and taking out. It's the opposite mentality to the aforementioned boomer 90s take.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't even know if it's for sure the LPL. At least I don't. They were sniffing around to LEC, so that's still a possibility as well. And honestly, like, there have been some.
I would love that just for the rivalry, so we can keep talking shit, and still get involved. Please be the LEC. I would love that.
So the other thing is that it could be LCK, honestly, because a lot of the lower tier teams in LCK have been, I would say, unhappy with the financial arrangements that they have with LCK, because what's been going on now is LCK actually has the highest average player salary of any league in the world, and they have the lowest amount of revenue split from any league. So a lot of those teams are
sounds really attractive.
Sounds like a great place to lose money.
That sounds so stupid, doesn't it? Like, let me buy in, please. I must buy in. Like,
well, I mean, it tracks with the behavior that's going on right now. But I do think that some of the lower teams might actually want to sell within LCK. At this juncture. So who knows? Who knows where it's going? Like I said, as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been an actual deal.
Oh my God. Done. I know which one it should be.
By the way, I'm very curious why they would make this.
Didn't you see that fucking news where there's that company's bought into Frederick Brion and it's going to, for real, be called OK Bro, Reginald Bro? If Reggie buys in to fucking a team called Bro, I can't even handle that. Like, that would actually be incredible thematically. That would be the shit.
That would be funny. Yeah, I think, I don't know, man. It could definitely happen in LCK as well. I think what's so weird about this is that they don't have a confirmed buyer for their slot, which I would think that announcing that you are leaving prior to selling could, in fact, hurt your ability to sell because you've already committed to selling. So it seems like whoever wants your team, whoever is actually bidding, could now undercut potentially if you don't have that many offers, because they know you're in a position where you kind of have to sell based on your PR. So it's weird. It's a little weird the way they're doing things, and I'm curious why that is, because there has to be a reason. But
maybe they also want to get the word out there to try and attract buyers, because you know this behind the scenes. We did hint at this, but we can't say what's what. I mean, we're not doing a Richard Lewis report here, guys. Mate, I heard there was other big teams as well. I've heard that want to sell either their slot or maybe the whole bloody org, because obviously the financial situation is just not great in America.
I've said this before on shows. Here are the teams. I said this before CLG sold. I said on Power Spike, CLG is for sale, and they've sold like a couple days later. Here are the teams that are for sale right now. Immortals, Dignitas are both for sale. I guess TSM has been shopping around as well. Those are the LCS teams that have been, I think, most aggressive in terms of trying to find buyers. But a lot of the teams, because of the revenue sharing, as I said right now, they can actually make money by just putting their players on LCS minimums.
And getting rid of Academy, all that shit.
Yeah, getting rid of Academy, which is something that's happening as well. So they're not going to take any offer. You know what I mean? It's not a fire sale. A lot of the teams that currently exist would take the right offer. Like, I think if there was somebody who walked up and offered them $20 million, they would take it. But they have to have that person coming in.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.